The final chapter in the street fighting saga of ever-scowling Kazama Kiryu, Yakuza 6 The Song of Life serves up a crime story that's hard-boiled yet, for the most part, far more believable than the melodramatic tales of previous games. However, disappointingly simple combat and a paltry list of meaningful gameplay additions meant that I didn't want to stick around to smell the ramen after the main story wrapped. Yakuza 6's plot snakes its way through the typical arm wrestling and betrayals of the power-hungry clans in the Japanese underground, and in doing so introduces a number of new heroes and villains. I was a little disappointed that several of the major characters from the series were relegated to a couple of brief cutscene cameos, but overall I found Kiryu's search for the perpetrator of a hit-and-run attack on his stepdaughter Haruka emotionally gripping. Kiryu goes about his detective work in a decidedly crude manner, by violently questioning the snot out of each and every goon in his path until they cough up some answers all over the pavement. That approach was much more fun in last year's Yakuza 0 than it is here, because Yakuza 6's combat system has been so streamlined that there's little depth to its fisticuffs. Without subtleties like switchable fighting stances to keep me thinking and adapting, in time I found myself applying the same basic strategy to almost every enemy encounter. Grab the nearest guy, swing him around and knock every other attacker to their knees, then smack the sense out of them one by one with whichever blunt instrument was within reach, and repeat. The fighting system may be surprisingly shallow, but at least it's smoothly integrated into the flow of gameplay. Unlike previous Yakuza games, when you come upon a group of thugs during your neighborhood stroll in Yakuza 6, there's no loading screen to disrupt things. It's just straight into the scrapping. Similarly, there's no break when moving from an exterior into an interior, and it's a treat when fights that start in the street crash into the aisles of a nearby convenience store. Yakuza 6 settles into a better moment-to-moment rhythm as a result. Thus, it's a smoother experience to get from one side of Yakuza 6's bustling Kamurocho red light district to the other, or to weave through the narrow paths of the more rural Onomichi Jingaicho town, where roughly half of the main story takes place. In terms of the latter, it's actually a little bit too easy to get from A to B, because there's little else to distract you from the task at hand. Onomichi is vital to the plot, yet it's almost entirely lacking in things to do outside of the main story missions and a smattering of side quests. And I couldn't help but feel I had all the freedom of a grounded teenager for a sizable portion of the main game. Once back in Kamurocho, there's certainly more to do, although it's still substantially less dense with diversions than previous Yakuza games. Yakuza 0's minigames like pool, bowling, hostess bar management, RC racing, and more have been jettisoned, replaced with a handful of less interesting additions like the Cat Cafe, which is cute yet ultimately little more than another form of fetch quest in a slightly fluffier guise. The meatiest gameplay addition is the Clan Creator minigame, which lets you switch to a god view and direct your gang members in a scrap. As far as real-time strategy games go, Clan Creator is pretty light on strategy and low on challenge, and to me it felt at odds with Kiryu's character in general. Why would he hang back and give orders to a group of grunts when he routinely lays waste to streetloads of thugs with his own two hands? I didn't really feel compelled to play that mode through to completion as a result. I did, however, enjoy the bulk of the side quests, especially since most of them riff on more contemporary themes than those found in last year's Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami. Almost all of these random encounters result in Kiryu getting caught in surprising and often hilarious situations, and I particularly appreciated the Troubler app that's installed on Kiryu's phone that alerts you to situations occurring nearby, and brings a lot of these little side stories directly to you rather than making you go in search of them. Yakuza 6 The Song of Life presents the most detailed virtual chunk of Japan the series has managed to date, and its story provides a satisfying end to the Kazama Kiryu saga. However, as far as gameplay goes, Yakuza 6 doesn't make enough of an effort to break new ground, making it weaker overall than last year's Yakuza 0. In a way, it's a good place to jump in if you're new to the series because its oversimplified combat system is easy to learn, but series stalwarts will no doubt be hoping that whatever comes next will feel less like a watered-down retread of what's come before. For more on Yakuza 6 The Song of Life, check out the first 16 minutes of the game and 5 things you need to know about Yakuza 6.